Serah Flood and Ernest Healy, you all have so much in common. You all are just there for yourselves. You all oppose even things that are good. So when people like you all get in power, you all get lost and confused and ashamed, because the same thing that you all were opposing, you all find yourself in a situation where you all have to institute the same thing that you all were opposing, and you all look ridiculous to the masses. Do not get God involved in your political things, Serah. What we have is a situation where when people are in opposition in St. Lucia, it seems as if they do not really take that thing seriously. It is a situation where the opposition is supposed to be, it is almost like a government in the waiting, preparing to run the show in the event that something happens and they have to assume responsibility. If there's going to be a snap election or something and they were to win, they would be the ones to run the country. But what we have is a situation where, for the most part, when people are in opposition, it is almost like the things that they represent, the punchlines they want to hit, a lot of times make no sense. And it seems as if it's almost like there's a high level of frustration among them, the fact that they are not in the leadership. The frustration build up to the extent that it is almost like the things that they talk about make no sense. And so what it looked like, we have a situation where it is either these opposition people are not serious about the job that they're doing, like they do not value the job, or it may be that they think that the masses are just stupid people, and so they can just go and say and do whatever they want. And sometimes the things that they place emphasis on are things that have no value to the masses, things that will not help the people at all. Now, we have a situation now in recent times with our beloved Serah Flood. Now, the thing is, these people need to understand, especially Serah in particular, Ms Serah, Mrs. Beaubrin, need to understand that God is not happy. God is not happy with these people using his name, using his things, using what he stands for to push their political agenda. And now you want to get all priests and pastors. And really what you're doing is bringing the people on a political walk. If you want to fight your political battles, do that, but just don't involve God in your story. Do not involve God in the things that in the things that you want to do. Do your thing if you want to do your thing. If you want to go against the government's policy of telling people to stay at their homes on Sunday, you can do that, but do not get God involved in your stories. And I hope none of them pastors do not follow this lady on her political vibes. Out of so many things that has to be done, so many matters that are important to the survival of people in the country, the best thing that you can think about is that to come and talk about, try to mobilize people because people have to stay home on Sundays. Is St. Lucia the only country in the Caribbean that you know of that practice that protocol? So many other Caribbean other places in the world and even in the Caribbean have that thing going on. That even on Sundays, certain times you have people who cannot move and who have to be staying at their homes. And all of a sudden you want to have these people move around, pastors and priests move around and follow you in your political vibes. Do not involve the things of God in your stories. We have so many grave situations, so many things to address, so many things to oppose that is important to the survival of people in the country. And that's the point you want to come and talk about. Things that make no sense, because what happens is when you people do these things, it always ends up coming back to haunt you all. This Serah flood, bro, is in the same school and the same thing as Ernest Healy. Remember when Ernest Healy was in opposition? Ernest Healy was opposing everything. Ernest Healy was opposing curfew. He was saying how the young people how some of them staying in the basement of their parents' houses, and how it is so hard for them to stay in their homes and all of that, making it look like it was so bad. And right now his government is doing the same thing. You see, the problem with some of these opposition people is that all their oppositions, all their words, it is just to try to topple governments to get in power, and that's all it is about. They do not care about the people. They oppose both good and bad. They just oppose for the sake of opposing. So what happened is now it's going to be very difficult for even this present government, because they are opposing everything good and bad. And some of these very things that you are opposing, invariably you will have to institute them. And people are watching. Especially Ernest Healy, who used to come and oppose everything. How can you run a country like that, opposing everything? Now, what we have is the important things that has to be opposed, that people like Serah need to think about. They never think about that. Oppose the things that are affecting the poor. Oppose the things that are needed to push the country forward. You have a situation where we have a situation where a lot of our farmlands are being abandoned. Lands that can be used to produce crops, to produce food, are not being used. So what we have now is a lot of the things has to be imported, and a lot of the money that we do not have already, so it's going overseas, whereas to purchase things that we can produce locally. What we have is a situation where people that are trained in farming now have to go and work security jobs for $3 and something cents per hour. And we have all of our good fertile lands being abandoned. These are the things that, to me, an opposition person should be looking about, thinking about. These are the things that Serah's supposed to be coming and talk about. Come and talk about things that make sense when you're in opposition. These are the things you talk about. Ernest Healy, when you're in opposition, these are the kind of things that you want to talk about. You don't just go and criticize everything just because you want to go in power, you want to get in power. And when you come in power, the same thing that you are opposing now, you have to come and implement it. How ridiculous that look. The other things that people need to think about, things that affect people. We have a situation where around 15 million euro was spent on a project in Dennery North and Dennery South, Dennery Valley and Dennery Village, where they were supposed to design the place, beautify the place. They constructed certain buildings to make and I think some footpaths to make the place more amenable to bring tourists in the valley and Dennery Village. Let me tell you now, it's been probably more than 2 years, and more than 2 or 3 years, not one tourist has visited any of this site. None of these sites have been visited in over 3 years. And some of these buildings are just closed. You understand? These are the things that people talk about. These are the things opposition people are supposed to be talking about. Because when these kind of things get off the ground, people get employed. You have all these people in the valley who can get work. People in Dennery Village can get work. But you do not talk about these things. You do not even know about these issues. All you want to come and talk is like just punchline that you feel that you can confuse people with. Things that make no sense. You have another situation. These are the things we want you to oppose. These are the things we want you to present. We have a situation where millions of dollars were spent on irrigation projects at Deglo, Roseau, Dennery Valley. Millions of dollars on irrigation projects, and for the most part these things are not being used. Some of these things are even messed up already by now. There was one of them that I saw. I even did a video on that. The thing is actually messed up. It's not operational. In one of them, I think people went away with the galvanized on one of the pump houses. Now we have a situation where even in the dry season where Europe really needs the bananas and our production need to be high, that's when we really that's when we have low production. And this was probably the rationale by which we sought funding to get these projects off the ground. But nothing is happening with these projects. And then we have people opposing and people in government not doing anything about those things. And we have people coming and talk about pastors and preachers supposed to be coming and campaign with you all. That is a campaign. That's a political campaigning. And that's just a tip of the iceberg. There are so many things that are important to people, to the livelihood of people. But you people, your opposition do nothing about it. Government people do nothing about it. And now you want people to move. You want to rally people. Now these pastors and these priests and these people you want to rally, making believe like these people are people leaders and people will follow them. So you want to use these people to mobilize people on the ground to for your political advantage and your political gain. These pastors that you're talking about, that you want to mobilize, 95% of these pastors are rejects. God reject them pastors already, and He rejected them people a long time. God tired of them pastors, them pimps. You see what happened is the mouths, the jaws of these pastors have been muffled. They can't talk nothing really that to represent the poor people or anybody or any point of sense that makes sense. They cannot talk about it. What happened if these pastors, Jesus Christ, if you read the Bible, you just tell these people to pay taxes, give unto Caesar the things that are belonging to him, and to God the things that are belonging to God too. But what these pastors have done is that they do not pay tax. They let the political electorate manipulate them. These pastors now are exempted from tax, especially those who have the big churches. They exempted from tax. So with that tax exemption, you think them pastors doing anything good? Them fellas have become bigger heathens than anybody else. So what them fellas do, them pastors, is now they're using these tax breaks to bring in their big jeep. They bring in their laptops and their stuff for their children. They bring in their chairs for their church and all of that, and make themselves feel comfortable in the church. These pastors are jokers. They try to intimidate people by saying, God say, do not touch the anointed and all of them and do the prophets. No, them fellas are not anointed. Them boys are jokers. What happened is, God tell them fellas to go out there and make disciples, to go and talk to the people and, talk to the people and deal with the people. These fellas design a system where they just take money from the poor. They have engineered the church building and the church system in such a way that, just like you build a dam, like you have the Roseau Dam, you just trap water in a certain area. These people trap the poor people in a building. So all the money you make and more, they want you to bring it to them. Instead of going and do what Jesus tell them to do and go ahead and preach the gospel and make disciples and things like that, feed the poor. These guys say, nah, they ain't doing that. They build big buildings, and that's the dream. Even those with smaller churches, that's their dream, to have big buildings, to almost construct like a reservoir for people to bring in money to them. These guys are jokers, and then they want and they believe that they have so much influence, and now people like Sarah want to use these pastors to come and manipulate people. That's all it is about. Let the pastors feel a sense where the government is working against them and the church, and so then the pastors will go and manipulate the people in the churches and the priests, and then people will be manipulated to follow Sarah Flood on her thing to try to attack the government. That is the whole plan. But what Sarah realizing is that these pastors are jokers. God rejected them fellas a long time ago. Them guys have designed the system just like the American system to be pimps, to just prostitute the people for money. Even in the COVID situation exposed a lot of these pastors how ridiculous and how money hungry them pastors are. These guys knew that the people couldn't come to their churches. So what they said, even if you can't come, just come by and drop their money. They even created slots and places for people to drop money. This has been the modus operandi of these pastors for a very long time. But it is just that the COVID situation just show these guys for who they are. These guys are jokers. These guys talk about how they are God's anointed and all of that. Them fellas, God don't know you all like that. Probably less than 1% of you all are people of God. You all are jokers. You all have been bought by the state. And some of you all are members of the cabal. You all are members of the cabal. Cabal and godliness have nothing to do. God have nothing to do with cabal. You all are part of the cabal. A lot of them pastors and them priests are members of the cabal. So these fellas, they have no message for people. And so when the Bible talk about to come out from among them fellas, move around, get out from Babylon, you're talking about them churches with them crooked pastors, they greedy, money-hungry pastors. That's all they're there for, to get people poorer and poorer. And what God tell them to do, they never do it. He tell them to go ahead and make disciples, and they're doing it every day they're in a church, because that's where you can bring money for them in the building. And deceiving the people continually, year and year after year, getting the people poorer. And all of that is just the grand design of Christianity. And the church people need to understand they need to move away from this whole Christianity thing. You need to be men and women of God, but not that Christianity vibe. That's a joke. That's a deception. That thing has been taken away by pagans. And so what happened is this whole paganism thing going on there, where Serah now is trying to appeal to these guys to try to manipulate you all to move and to go against the government on her behalf, which that thing will not work at all, because people will not be listening to these jokers. These pastors are jokers. You all are jokers. You all are not God's anointed. And the COVID thing showed clearly that you all are jokers. Some of you all people go on the thing, and you all behaving as if your job is to convince people to go and take the vaccine. That is not your job. Your job as a pastor is not to convince nobody to take no vaccine. I am in favor of vaccines, but that's not your job. What the Bible tells you to go and pray for the sick and they shall recover, and all of them things, great things and miracles go happen in the name of Jah. If it is that you all abide by his precepts, but you all are on that, you all want to behave like politicians. You all are money hungry people. So the thing is, people like Sister Serah know very much that your pastors right now have no principles. She knows that God rejects you all. She know that when she say holy priest, deep in her heart she know that them guys not holy. So she believe that if she can get these jokers to follow her, to manipulate the people, to go against the government, that will be a good thing for her. I'm not saying those things because I'm in so much in support of the government. I have a stake in every government. When SLP in power, I have a stake in that government. When UWP in power, I have a stake in that government. But when the government does well, the people of the country do well. All of us do well. But that thing where you all want to hijack governments when you're all in opposition, you all don't oppose nothing that's in favor of the people. All you all do is oppose things to your benefit. So Sarah Flood and Ernest Healy, you all have so much in common. You all are just there for yourselves. You all oppose even things that are good. So when people like you all get in power, you all get lost and confused and ashamed, because the same thing that you all were opposing, you all find yourself in a situation where you all have to institute the same thing that you all were opposing, and you all look ridiculous to the masses. Do not get God involved in your political things, Serah. Do not get God. Do not try to deceive the people, and because it's politics you're running, and you're trying to get God involved in that. God is involved in your papi show. If you want to run your politics, run your politics. If you want to play like you want to get involved in God, take your mic and go by the Castries market and go and preach. But it is not coming from a genuine place, is it? Is it coming from a genuine place? You want to get people to be mobilized against the government, complaining about how it is so wrong that the people stop churches on Sunday. You don't know that they're trying to cut down the rate of infection in the country. And even when you all know the truth, you all will just go against it just because you all want to get rid of the government. You all want to make governments lose points. But the things that you are supposed to oppose, you all never oppose it. Things that will benefit poor people, you all never go for that.